Look, man, the rock bottom is where I found myself. I never had a sense of who the hell I was. I didn't know what I stood for, didn't know my worth. I was lost, man. No self-esteem, no confidence, nothing. But I knew one thing: if I put in the work, if I pushed myself to the limit physically and mentally, I could build something. It wasn't easy. I had to grind every damn day to learn. And as I pushed myself, that's when I started finding my self-esteem. It didn't come overnight, but when I finally found it, boom, doors open, man. I stopped giving a fuck about what anyone thought. I didn't care about judgment, about being laughed at, about being the butt of the joke. It used to paralyze me. What are people going to say if I fail? If I start now, will they laugh? But the day I stopped caring was the day my life began to shift, man. It didn't happen all at once. Change was slow, but it was real. Let me take you back to high school. I was a fucking joke. Couldn't read, could barely write. I was stuck, man. I had no direction. So what did I do? I became a character, a fucking clown. Trying to be someone I wasn't. Hairstyles, sagging pants, thinking I could fake my way into knowing myself. But deep down, I knew I was lost. I remember looking in the mirror, seeing nothing. No purpose, no happiness. People could see it too. Look at his eyes, they say, you see the demons in there? This guy's got some real darkness. They weren't wrong, I was miserable, man. Completely unfulfilled. But they were missing the fucking point. That darkness they saw. It wasn't something to run from, it was my fuel. I was a man on a mission, digging deep, finding something buried inside that most people never fucking find. That's why I don't judge anyone. My path is different, and I know it. People judge me all the time. My look, my eyes, the fact that I don't smile or joke around. But I don't give a damn about their opinions. See, man, it's easy to smile and laugh when life's good. It doesn't take strength to enjoy the good times. But life's not all good times. It's a fucking battle. Most people want to skip the hard shit. They want to rush to the peace without going through the pain. But that's not how it works. You can't just sweep the suffering under the rug and expect to be strong. I don't train just my body, I train my mind and spirit too, because life throws everything at you. And if you're not ready physically, mentally, spiritually, life will break you. You'll crumble, and then you're no good to anyone. When we suffer, we forget how strong we are. We get lost in the pain. But suffering, that's the real test. That's life's way of asking, how bad do you want it? Suffering strips you down to your core. And when you come out the other side, that's when you find peace. Not the fake feel-good peace. Real lasting peace. Greatness isn't about running 200 miles or doing some crazy Navy SEAL shit, man. Greatness is about what you've created in your own mind. You have to see it, believe it. Once that vision is clear, then comes the hard part, putting in the fucking work to make it real. That's where I come in. I'm here to tell you that when you've got that vision, you better be ready to grind, ready to suffer, because that's what it takes to turn your life into real. Listen, man, I don't care if you think you're dumb, if you think you're fat. Maybe you've been bullied your whole life, or maybe you just came back from Iraq or Afghanistan and you've lost your legs, your arms, whatever the fuck life threw at you. It doesn't matter. Every single one of us has greatness inside. But here's the thing, you got to find the courage to go get it. That's what separates the weak from the strong. You got to block out the noise, put on your headphones, silence the bullshit that the world throws at you, and tap into that greatness. Hope ain't in your control. Hope is just some wishy-washy bullshit. Like, oh, hopefully things get better. Fuck that. You can't hope your way into greatness. It doesn't work like that. What you need is belief. And belief ain't no fluffy after school special shit. It's not the kind of belief your parents or some Sesame Street episode talks about, like believe in yourself, everything's going to be okay. No, I'm talking about the kind of belief you earn through suffering, through hard-ass work, through getting the fuck up when life knocks you down. Man, belief comes from knowing what you're capable of because you've been through the worst of it and you survived. You've been in those dark places, you pushed yourself through hell and you came out the other side. That's real belief. That's what kept me going back to Navy SEAL training over and over again. I didn't hope the training would get easier. I believed I could make it through because I had already put myself through worse shit on my own. I wasn't executing at my best man, and I knew it was all on me. So when I finally aligned that belief with the hard work, that's when everything started to change. What separates me from most people is simple. When I face a big ass task, I don't get overwhelmed. I go all in, man. I know that I can get it done. If you shut your mind off to the possibility that you can achieve something, you're already fucking defeated. That's why people quit. That's why people break. But me, when I'm in a fight, I attack. I keep attacking, no matter what. The enemy has to know I'm not stopping. I'm not backing down. And I realized something: I wasn't just fighting to survive. I was fighting to break whatever was in front of me, to break its soul. That's when I came up with this idea of taking souls. When you keep attacking something, it starts to crumble. Nothing in this world wants to stand in front of something that's relentless. That won't quit. Nothing. People don't get that. When you're in the worst environment possible, when everything around you is screaming for you to quit, that's when you attack harder. Everyone else is sitting there hoping it'll end. Time slows down. You see it on their faces, man. I don't want to be here anymore, man, but me? I'm just getting started. That's the difference. When everyone else is wishing for it to stop, I'm out there breaking its fucking soul. And that's how you win. I started to realize something during Hell Week, man. I began playing these mind games with myself. I imagined the instructors sitting there watching us judging. I could hear them in my head comparing us to themselves back when they went through Hell Week. I bet they were looking at me thinking, let's see, I was better than Goggins when I went through this. That's when I said, all right, you want to judge me? You think you're better. Okay, motherfucker, let's see who's really got it. They tell you how you're supposed to feel during Hell Week. You're cold, you're tired, you're broken. They plant that shit in your head. But I said, no, fuck that. Don't let these bullshit tell you how you're supposed to feel. It's day one, hour one, man. We're just getting started. I took that mindset and got my whole boat crew fired up. I told them, you know what? We're going to take these motherfuckers' souls today. So there we were, doing some simple ass tasks that everyone else was struggling with. I looked over at the instructors and I could see it in their eyes. They looked like someone had just ripped their soul out. They weren't expecting us to keep pushing like that. I turned to my guys and said, guess what? We own space in their heads now. We're in there. They're going to be thinking about us tonight. You see, it takes just 1 second of raw energy to break someone's soul. And after that, you've got all the energy you need. That's all it takes, one moment. One look into someone's eyes when they're ready to quit, when they're broken, and you know you've got them. It's like when you're in a fight and that guy across from you doesn't want to go another round. You've taken his soul. And then you feel it, you can go all day, all fucking day long. That's what taking souls is about, man. It's about digging deep when you've got nothing left. When you're beaten down, when you're jacked up, when your body is screaming at you to stop, but you find that little bit extra and give more. You charge forward when everyone else is backing down. You start to feed off that feeling, off the fact that you're breaking people. You can feel their spirit crumble, and it gives you more fuel to keep going. Taking souls ain't just about physical shit, though. It's about what you're telling yourself in those moments. It's about the mental work. Whenever I was getting crushed physically, mentally, spiritually, I'd have this mantra in my head: you can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. That became my shield. No matter how fucked up things got, no matter how much pain I was in, I kept saying it: you can't hurt me. That's where it comes from, man. That's the core of everything I do. It's not just about surviving the pain, it's about using it. It's about getting in people's heads, breaking them down, and fueling yourself off their weakness. You've got to have the will, the heart, the courage to go that distance when everyone else is falling apart. When you do that, you start taking souls. That's when you know you're unstoppable. I don't trust many people. Most folks are just skimming the surface, feeding you a load of crap. Instagram this and that's all that bullshit. They're just playing the fool. It takes me a long time to really get to know someone. I look at where I am now, and it's hard not to think about where I started. It's almost like I'm patting myself on the back, but damn, I'm blown away by what a human can achieve. When I talk about myself in the third person, it's because I know I built this person from nothing but scraps. I wasn't trained by anyone. No mechanics, no carpenters, no mentors. My parents didn't teach me how to forge a person from scratch. Life did, though. Life beat me down and built me up with pain and suffering. I took those scraps and wondered what could happen. The first year was a mess, a complete bullshit show. But I kept pushing, learning more and more through every failure. Eventually, I crafted something incredible, like a damn fine car. And I knew how I did it through all the setbacks. I found the tools I needed to build who I am today. People thought I was some extraterrestrial being who landed here and was forged from the earth's elements. Nope, man, that's not it. Look, man, you need to look in the mirror and see the result of hard work. I built this guy who I am now. But there's no room in that mind for half-assed discipline or inconsistent efforts. People might stick with it for a bit, but then their mind short-circuit, overloaded with junk. That's your brain like a circuit breaker ready to blow. Clearing out that mental clutter is crucial. You have to make space for real discipline, like waking up early and sticking to it. But we don't dig into that dark matter that's clogging up your mental garage. People with a talent problem are so damn talented that they're tough as hell to train. They're hard to push because their talent is like a damn security blanket. As a coach, trying to get them to push past that talent barrier and into that mental zone is like trying to drag a mule uphill. You've got to get them way beyond their natural gifts. That's where the real levels are, the levels that aren't about talent, but about mental toughness. If you can drag a man to the deep end when all he's doing is dipping his toe in and he's chilling down there, then he's mentally unbeatable. He lives in the deep end as his home turf. When shit hits the fan and trauma or devastation comes crashing in, you've got to deal with it fast. You can't let it be your damn excuse, your Jersey barrier. You've got to cut through that shit, move forward, and keep pushing. It takes a hell of a lot of toughness. I've given everything. People say, oh, you ran on busted knees, taped up feet, had 2 heart surgeries and kept going. That's what made me who I am. Everyone wants toughness, but they're searching for it in a cozy, comfortable setting. That's not where you find it. When I had somewhere to go, I went there. When someone said you can take a break, now I kept going as long as my knees were halfway working. No excuses. I was happy with where I was because I gave everything I had. People might not believe it or understand it. I don't give a fuck. I know what I was doing. I'm not a masochist or crazy. I had a mission. Think of your mind as a garage man. If it's cluttered with bikes, toys, and junk, you can't park your car in there. But if you clean that shit up and organize it, you can fit 2 cars, bikes, and more. That's how your mind should be cleared out and organized. Discipline, determination, and consistency need space to thrive. Most people try once or twice, but their mind's a circuit breaker, overloaded and sparking with junk. You keep cramming stuff in there and sooner or later it short circuits. Listen, man, I talk about clearing space in your mind so you can make room for real discipline, like waking up early. That shit matters, but if you don't get rid of the dark matter clogging up your mental garage, you're screwed. Every morning starts with a run because it's the one thing I hate more than anything else in the world. That run is my cup of coffee. It's my way of armoring up. The second you step out of your house, open your phone, or let any of that poison in, you're letting cancer into your mind. I make sure to avoid that crap whenever I can. When I get up, I armor plate my mind and body. Discipline's useless without a clear headspace. Man, if you overload a circuit breaker, it's going to blow. And when it blows, the circuits are fucked up. You've got to have each thing plugged into the right spot. If your brain's like a cluttered garage, you can't fit anything in it. Discipline and motivation are great, but if your mind is stuffed with bullshit, there's no room for them. You might squeeze in a bit of discipline now and then, but without clearing the clutter, you'll never have the consistency you need. In Can't Hurt Me, my mom was like, you're not going to put any of my life in this. But over time, I told her, Mom, it wasn't just your life. I was a kid living through it, and I saw it more clearly than you ever could. It took years for me to figure out who the real devil was, and it turned out to be my dad. Look, man, no one's coming back to apologize. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But when I finally confronted what I thought was the devil, I realized I was the real problem. I was the one holding myself back, looking for excuses, hoping someone else would confirm my failures. My dad was a loser, but I was the one trying to cling to that loser mentality. When I drove home from Buffalo after seeing my dad, I had this realization your life is going to suck. Not because you're a loser, but because you're finally going to start winning. Yep, I did it. I had somewhere to go, and you know what it's like when you're fighting someone. You've broken their shit, and they're thinking, oh God, I want to go another round. Meanwhile, you're thinking, hell yeah, I could fight all day. Bring it on. That's what taking souls is all about. But you need the will, the heart, the guts to keep going when you're totally wrecked and have nothing left to give. You dig deep and keep pushing. You start to feed off that energy. You realize it takes just 1 second of relentless effort to drain everyone else's will. And then you've got all the energy you need. That's all it takes. Look into someone's eyes during a fight and you'll see it. You've broken them and they're crumbling. They're scared of coming back for another round while you're thinking, I could go forever. It's about what you're telling yourself. But remember, it's not just talk, it comes with serious work. Whenever I got beat down physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever the hell was happening, I tell myself, you can't hurt me. That can't hurt me mindset became my mantra. It's where I found my strength. Listen, man, this is one of life's biggest lessons. You've got to be ready. Always. Don't ever get ready. People ask David, what are you training for? I'm not training for shit. I'm just ready. So when Cam calls and says, hey man, I'm in Las Vegas, want to go for a run, I'm all in. The run might suck, but I'm ready. When someone tries to slide into a rough patch and needs a reality check, I'm not going to let them sink deeper. If I see you gaining 5 more pounds, skipping school, or procrastinating, I'm not doing you any favors. I'm not going to be the asshole who lets you slide. You don't like it? Tough shit. I'm fine with that. In my head, it's never about quitting. I don't quit. I might not nail it the first time, but I'll come back and figure it out. If I need to call an audible, so be it. I get my head back in the game and keep grinding. Failure isn't the end, it's just the first, second, third, or fifth attempt. It's all attempts. Real failure is not trying at all. That's what people don't get. They see failure as the end. But if you're trying to do something bigger than yourself, if you're paralyzed and trying to take a step you didn't fail, you made your first attempt. That's the mindset you need. So don't look at it as failure. Look at it as another shot to get it right. Failure is a big, scary word that trips people up. We let words like that mess with our heads. I don't. I yank the power away from it. When things get tough, I don't give in, man. The harder it gets, the more I dig in and fight back. People talk a lot of trash about failure, but it's just noise. Look, I used to be fat, man. I know what it's like to struggle every single day, to roll your fat ass out of bed and drag yourself through the grind. And guess what? I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself. Man, too many people want the easy way out. Well, guess what? It ain't coming. So what do? They build up this damn narrative that it's okay to slack off. They say, it's fine to be lazy, but that's bullshit. It's not fine, and it's definitely not okay. If you're okay with that, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of mediocrity. I could have accepted that too, but I chose not to. If I'd given in, I wouldn't be where I am today. We live in a world full of excuses and easy outs. People are always finding ways to get out of doing the hard shit. And now, society is designed to let you get away with it. Everything's okay, and you can't say a damn thing about it. But I'm not about that life. I want to take you through the real struggle, the kind that makes you raw and real. Let me take you back to my place in Buffalo, New York. We lived on Paradise Road, but it was far from paradise. I got my ass kicked every day. I want you to come with me, dive into that struggle, and see where I came from. You want to learn from me? Let me show you my roots. We're all messed up in our own ways. That's what makes us beautiful. I'm jacked up too, but I figured out my way to get unjacked. You might get there faster than me, or maybe you'll take a different path. I train my brain to handle it differently. My version of hard is different, but it's still hard. I used to run 50 miles a week, pushing my limits, man. I'd hit 10 miles and think I'm done. But then that demon in my head would remind me that there's someone out there running longer and harder. I couldn't let that person beat me. So I kept running. What kept me going was knowing where I came from. I started some of the hardest training in the world in terrible shape. If I could make it through that, from the weakest I've ever been to the strongest, then you can too. It's about surviving the suffering, pushing through when your body and mind are at their breaking point. My stress fractures healed because I didn't stop running. I made up my mind I was going to be a Navy SEAL or die trying. That was it. No escape. Man, when my body said, Roger that, we're going to push through this, I learned to harness every ounce of my adrenal response. You know, that fight or flight thing that kicks in when you're in a jam? I figured out how to make that work for me. I dove deep into mastering my mind, turning that initial rush into a weapon of resilience. When I was thrown into the worst environments, surrounded by misery and negativity, that's when I started to shine. Everyone around me was wallowing in their own crap, feeling sorry for themselves, but I thrived on that suffering. I used every bit of that collected misery as fuel, turning it into relentless drive and motivation. When people saw me embracing the pain and pushing through it, they followed suit. They saw Goggins going hard and they thought, if he can do it, so can I. I realized that if you can just hold on a little longer, you'll build a crew of people who are right there with you. Everyone talks about how failure is part of growth and how it's all about overcoming setbacks. I used to say that too, but honestly, it's a bunch of bullshit, man. I'm sick of hearing all these cliches about goal setting from people who don't even walk the walk. I can talk about failure, man, because I'm still failing today, and it's a big part of my life. I'm living through the shit I preach. A lot of people out there are washed up as bins, reminiscing about their glory days while they sit around talking. Are they living it now? I doubt it. Visualization is my secret weapon. It's what lets me push through extreme conditions, like being submerged in ice cold water or running 100 miles. I've run those miles in my mind 1,000 times before I even hit the starting line. I can almost predict how I'll feel at mile 50 down to the exact sensation. So when I hit that point, there's no surprise. I've already been there a million times before. This is what I practice tirelessly over and over. But beyond that, I practice the feeling of accomplishment, the sweet victory of finishing what I started. The truth is, most people who are struggling are giving their all, but they're being judged by those who haven't even attempted what they're trying to do. It's easy to criticize from the sidelines, but man, real growth comes from the struggle, the fight, and the relentless pursuit of pushing through the pain. When I was chasing that record with 2,500 pull-ups, you know how many people had shit to say? People sitting on their asses, eating chips, watching TV. These are the same assholes who couldn't even do one pull-up. Seriously, take a look at who's criticizing you. Most of the time, they're not even in your league. Don't waste a second on their noise. Block them out. That's step one. Step two is recognizing that failure is where you get all the answers. Every lesson you need is buried in that failure. Yeah, it sucks, but it's true. You go back, break it down, and see what went wrong, where you slipped up, and what you need to fix. I don't even see it as failure. I see it like trying to invent the light bulb. Am I scared to find out what failure is? Hell no, man. I'm out here trying to break the damn record for pull-ups. Anything I do along the way is progress, not failure. I'm fully present in everything I do. Right now, for instance, I'm with Rich Roll, and my mind isn't wandering anywhere else. I'm all in on this moment, on what Rich is saying. That's what gives me the edge, especially with how fast-paced everything is today. Everyone's juggling a million things, trying to keep everything afloat. Me? I'm not trying to be the greatest multitasker. If I put my full 100% into whatever is in front of me, I'll crush it. If I'm bouncing around half-assing everything, nothing gets done right. The most crucial thing is staying laser focused on the task at hand. Failure should scare the shit out of you, but that's exactly why you need to go out there and push yourself to fail. It's in that grind where you find your true strength. Man, if you're not failing at something, it means you're not aiming high enough. You're setting your goals too low if everything you touch turns to gold. Take me, for example, I set out to smash the GBRS record for pull-ups. It was a beast of a goal, and I failed twice before I finally nailed it. Hell, I went through Navy SEAL training 3 times before I passed. Everything I've ever done took me multiple attempts to get right. I knew the chances of failure were huge. But here's what failure gives you when you watch a movie about someone who keeps getting knocked down and then finally triumphs. How do you feel? You're pumped, right? You're on fire. I want to be that movie. I want to feel the same rush of success as I do watching someone else crush it on screen. I'm out here getting my ass kicked just like Rocky did, and I want to feel that victory. The second you pick up your phone or turn on the TV, you're already in a battle. To win the war, start with the battles you face every morning. If you push yourself to do the hard shit first thing, you're setting yourself up to smash through whatever comes your way. I used to think no one understood my struggle, that nobody could relate to my pain. But if you cling to that mindset, you'll stay stuck in your own misery. Everyone's dealing with their own shit, man. If you think no one gets you, look around. You can find people who understand if you're willing to drop the act and stop hiding. A lot of people get it. You just have to stop hiding from them. Suffering is part of my daily routine, man. I've made it a way of life. I put myself through hell so that when the real shit hits, I'm ready. The more I got comfortable with discomfort, the more I thrived in it. I see myself as the weakest person on earth and vowed to change that. I might not be the toughest man ever, but I needed a goal, something to strive for. I learned to control my adrenals, that fight or flight response that kicks in when you need to move fast. I got my mind in the game, finding strength in shitty environments where everyone else was falling apart. When others are moping around and their heads are in the dumps, I thrived. That's where I excelled. I used that misery as fuel to drive myself and others forward. When people see me pushing through, they think, damn, Goggins is going hard. I need to step up my game. And that's the power of embracing the grind. I figured out that if you can dig in and find strength just a little bit longer, you'll build a crew of people who follow your lead. We all want to stand out from the average, right? People often ask me how I stay hungry all the time. Here's the truth: after I achieve something big, I don't sit back and get comfortable like most people do once they graduate from buds or hit their goals. Those guys wonder why they're losing their edge, why they're getting weak. It's because the second you hit the top of the mountain, you've got to build a new one, man. That's the difference between greatness and mediocrity. Mediocrity is everywhere, man. You've got folks with impressive resumes who had one big break, made some money, and now they're done. They hit their peak and now they're just coasting. They might look fit and strong, but that's just skin deep. They're building bigger, stronger quitters. Their bodies are jacked, but their minds are still soft. The moment adversity hits, they crumble. They can't handle the mental grind. Life knocked me the hell out. Can't hurt Maine isn't just a title. It's a way of life. It's about confronting whatever's in front of you, facing it head on, and pushing through no matter what. I had a rough start: bullying, learning disabilities, stuttering, and a pile of failures. I overcame all that shit, or it would have beaten me. Through that journey, I transformed into someone new. People saw me as a superhero, but I knew the real story. I thought about sharing it, but there was always a fear of exposing that raw truth. It's comfortable to stay where you are and let people think you're great. But to truly help others, you need to show them it's possible to rise from the ashes. So I went back to where I came from, straight from hell. This world loves to label people as superhuman. When we do that, we give ourselves an excuse not to try. We think, oh, they're special, I can't do that. But there's no such thing as special people, just special minds, man. And you can build that mind yourself. That's why I write the way I do. I want people to see where I came from and what I had to overcome. I strip away all the bullshit titles: crazy, superhuman, whatever. You'll read my book, and by the time you hit chapters 9 or 10, you'll have forgotten the hell I went through in the first few chapters. That's how quick the mind tries to soften you up, to tell you this is impossible. It guides you down the path of least resistance, even as you're reading the book. That's the power of the mind. You've got to keep reminding yourself to go back to those early chapters, to the raw truth of where you started. Always remember chapter 1, 2, and 3, those gritty beginnings. You can do this too, but first, you've got to perform a full-on autopsy of your own life. People say failure is a part of life and that is how you grow. Bullshit. I'm so fucking tired of all these cliches, like goal setting and motivational fluff. Most of those who preach about it aren't even living it. The reason I can talk about failure is because I'm still failing today, and I'm failing hard, man. I live this shit every single day. So many of these so-called experts are has-beens, people who did some impressive stuff once upon a time and now just talk about it. Are they living it now? Hell no. Visualizing is my weapon of choice. It's why I can put myself into freezing cold water or endure a 100-mile race and picture exactly how it's going to feel at mile 50 down to the exact fucking detail. I've already been through it in my mind a million times. That's how you prepare. It's not just about practice, it's about rehearsing the feeling of accomplishment you'll have when it's all over. Most people who are failing are giving it their all, only to be criticized by those who haven't even tried what they're failing at. When I went for that pull-up record and failed after 2,500, the critics were sitting on their asses, eating chips, saying, do a pull-up. Really? Look at who's criticizing you. They're not even in your league, block them out. They don't matter. Man, failure isn't just failure. It's where you find all the answers, all the lessons. I don't even call it failure anymore. I think of it as trying to invent the fucking light bulb. It's about pushing the limits, breaking records like 4,020 pull-ups. Anything you do on that path is a victory. That's how you should see failure, just part of the journey to see to what's possible. Man, failure should scare the hell out of you, but that's why you need to push yourself to the edge. If you're not failing, it means you set your goals too low. You're aiming to succeed at everything, which means you're not challenging yourself enough. If you just coast through succeeding without breaking a sweat, the feeling's just, yeah, okay, I did it. But when you fight through the struggle, that's where the real satisfaction lies. Failure gives you the chance to experience that feeling of victory in its purest form. You want to know what really gets me fired up? It's those long, grueling stretches where you just can't seem to get over that damn hump. You grind and grind, man, hitting the wall over and over, but you keep going back to the drawing board. You're busting your ass, searching for those fleeting seconds of clarity that will finally crack the code. That's where the shit happens. It's in those moments of failure that you learn the most. Every time you fail, you're not just failing, you're collecting data, figuring out what didn't work so you can finally nail it. I live for that feeling, man. I'm not talking about the easy wins where everything falls into place. I'm talking about the wins that come after you've been knocked down, after you stumbled through countless failures. You start to taste that sweet success before it even arrives. You get a hint of it. And that's what keeps you going. When you finally succeed, it's fucking euphoric. You take that feeling, shove it in your cookie jar, and save it for later. You know you'll need it again. You'll face more battles, more failures, and you'll come back to that feeling to keep you driving forward. But look, man, the thing that terrifies me the most is losing touch with that mindset. The mindset that gets you through the darkest moments. Those headphones, those phones, and none of that shit is going to save you when you're in the trenches. It's you and your mind, raw and unfiltered. You need to confront yourself in that dark room, that place where all your insecurities and weaknesses hide. It's there in that brutal self-examination that you have to forge a new version of yourself. Not a different personality, but a stronger, more resilient version of you. Imagine cracking out of that dark room like Superman, emerging as someone who doesn't give a damn about judgment or insecurity. Someone who acknowledges their weaknesses but doesn't let them define them. That's what I'm talking about. That's Goggins, man. You face your demons, accept them, and then build something better. Social media and all the crap out there show the facade, not the reality. We all have issues, we all struggle, but it's in the dark room where you transform and come out the other side ready to conquer. Man, that dark room, yeah, that's where the real transformation happens. It's where I start talking to myself, building a new version of me, a badass version. I fuel up on that raw, gritty self-talk, telling myself no one else is doing this. You're the badass man around. You're the badass man alive. I kept pushing myself with that kind of message, the one I was never brave enough to tell myself before. Over time, that relentless self-talk became my reality. It ignited a passion within me that drives me every single day. Now, when you listen to this podcast and it gets rolling, you'll see the transformation unfold from this chill, laid-back David Goggins to the raw, unfiltered Goggins, you know. I had to invent this person, this Goggins. The David Goggins that started out was an introverted kid, soft, getting beat up and lying to fit in, just trying to be accepted. My life has been about creating two versions of me, scary as hell, but necessary. I had to forge a new human being to step outside my comfort zone, and that's who Goggins became. I had to toughen up, build an armor of resilience to take whatever shit people threw at me. Yeah, I was a geek, a fat kid, whatever. I needed to see myself for who I really was, and that meant getting brutally honest. Most people shy away from that kind of raw self-assessment. They don't want to call themselves fat or dumb. But if you're not real with yourself, nothing's ever going to change. Man, we live in a world where we prefer to sugarcoat things. You're just a little big. No, man, sometimes you're fat. And it's okay to face that fact and call yourself out. That's where it all begins. It gets ugly and raw when you're staring at yourself in the mirror. But it's the only way to truly fix what's wrong. Man, look at a rucksack, a military backpack. We all have one. It starts empty, and as we grow, we fill it with all the shit we go through, pain, failures, insecurities. For a lot of people, that backpack fills up with junk, and they carry it around forever. But if you want to change, if you want to be like Goggins, you need to empty that backpack, face the crap head on, and keep moving forward. Look, man, no matter where you are in life, whether you're dealing with a messed up past, childhood abuse, learning disabilities, stutters, insecurities, self-doubt, or whatever pile of shit life's thrown at you, no one's coming to save your ass. I had my share of crap too. I was a damn mess, lied to make friends, loaded up with all this baggage, all this pain. So here's the brutal truth. Nobody's coming back to help you. It starts with the person staring back at you in the mirror. This is a solitary battle, man. No matter what you believe in, this world is a lonely place. It's you against the world, and it starts with that accountability mirror. You need to look into that mirror and face your shit head on. Your dad who abused you, he's not coming back. All that pain and baggage, it's on you now. You've got to own that pain, man. All that crap that others piled on you is yours now. You need to fix the damage those people did, even though it's fucking unfair. If you keep wallowing in that woe is me bullshit, blaming your parents, the bullies, or anyone else, you'll be stuck in that pit forever. You want to rise above, you need to step up, take full ownership, and turn that shit around. There's no more room for excuses or self-pity. Face yourself, own your past, and push through the mess to build a stronger you. The only way out is through. man, nobody's coming back to fix your shit. So you better figure out how to move forward yourself. It starts with staring at yourself in the goddamn mirror. I call it the accountability mirror in my book. Trust me, it's not a pleasant experience, but it's absolutely necessary. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid, except the Band-Aid is your self-delusion. Every morning when I wake up, it's not just about hitting the gym. For me, working out is a crucial part of my mental fortitude. If I'm not pushing my limits every single day, fucking every day, then I'm failing myself. Believe it or not, I was almost 300 pounds, not once, but twice in my life. A guy who's been that heavy twice doesn't exactly have a love affair with cardio. You can dress it up any way you want, but the truth is brutal. And the things that make you want to puke, the shit you hate doing, that's where the real growth happens. That's where the magic is. And I hit that uncomfortable zone every damn day because that's where I evolve. I learned that lesson young. I didn't get it from the military. I had to figure it out on my own. I had zero discipline, absolutely none. And that's where I realized I needed to build it from scratch. I was awful at reading and writing, had more learning disabilities than I care to count. So I put my ass in a chair and I put in the hours reading, writing, and grinding through the bullshit. That discipline I honed from struggling through my education translated directly into my workouts. That's where it all began. When I was 16, I looked at myself and thought, I'm at a 4th grade reading level. If I'm going to get into the military, I need to level up. That's where my journey started. You can't look at all your problems and get overwhelmed, man. You tackle one thing at a time. For me, it was getting smarter. I had to address my learning disabilities head on, strategize, and conquer that one problem. So get out there and confront your demons, man. Face the shit you hate and use that discomfort to fuel your growth. That's the path to becoming a better version of yourself. Now, you're sitting there thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? I don't learn like you or anybody else. How the hell am I supposed to figure this out? Well, let me tell you how I did it. I took a hard look at my strengths and weaknesses and said, all right, where am I lacking? How the fuck am I going to overcome this? So I figured out a strategy. When I had a massive manual to study, a 1,000-page dive manual, to be precise, I knew I was up against it. I wasn't born smart, I was born to fight my ass off. I got that manual 18 months before I even hit dive school. Why? Because I needed every goddamn second to drill it into my brain. I didn't just read it, I wrote each page down over and over again. I grabbed a stack of spiral notebooks and wrote out each page like 10 times, man. I did this day after day, month after month after month. I knew it would take me that long to get that shit into my memory. And guess what? When that test came, I could recall where everything was because I'd written it so many times. It was like flipping through a mental index. You've got to break down your problems the same way. Don't look at the whole mess and freak out. Take it one fucking problem at a time. Start with one issue, tackle it, and move on to the next. Before you know it, you'll have knocked out all the bullshit. Life's gonna throw you into the dirt. And when you think you've climbed Everest, it'll knock you back down. I've been there pants around my knees, feeling like total shit. I faced the mirror and saw the raw, unfiltered truth about myself. There were things I was hiding behind, things I didn't want to face. I looked at myself in that mirror and thought, damn, dude, you've created a character that's far from perfect. If I don't give you everything I've got, why the hell am I even here? You'll never learn if I sugarcoat everything to spare your feelings. No, tighten up. It's all right to face the harsh truth. It's okay to confront it head on. What are you going to do about it? You control your life, not anyone else. Man, flip the script, harness your power, and make it work for you. You might read about me years from now, but remember, I wasn't born a genetic freak. I struggled with reading in high school, hiding out, getting beaten down mentally and physically. I was afraid of every single person on this planet, but I didn't let that define me. I used it to fuel my fight, and that's what you need to do, man. People forget I had to remake myself from scratch. I spent countless nights alone, shattered, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. I had zero mental toughness, zero strength, zero power. I used to think no one gets what I'm going through. And if you cling to that mindset, guess what? You'll stay stuck exactly where you are. Everyone's battling something. When you're wrapped up in that nobody understands me crap, you're missing the damn point. You can throw a rock and hit someone who gets it, but only if they're willing to tear down their own walls and stop hiding. There's a whole lot of people out there who understand, but you have to stop playing the victim and start showing up. And then this guy, I'm telling you, our brains are messed up. We suffer every damn day. That's what we do. We dive into the grind, We tackle the shit that's uncomfortable and we get used to it. It becomes your everyday reality. To become the man I wanted to be, I had to see myself as the weakest badass God ever made. I didn't point fingers at God or play the blame game. I wanted to turn that weakness into the hardest badass version of myself. Am I there yet? Hell, I don't know. But you need a goal, a target, something to drive you. You're alone in this game, man. Sure, you might have a therapist or a buddy, but there are 24 hours in a day where it's just you and your mind. And your mind is a beast. It'll try to control you, drag you into every possible pit. If you can't take charge of your own brain and it starts running the show, you're done. You have to tell your brain where you're going, how you're getting there, and how you're going to conquer it. You've got to be the boss. If not, it's game over. Man, we've got more strength than we realize. I grabbed that shovel and I carved out my own damn path. Sure, there are giant boulders and people zooming ahead of you, but this is your journey. Some days you might wake up feeling like shit, wondering why you're living such a regimented life. You might think, why the hell am I doing this? And then you remember, do you want to be just another average Joe drifting through life without ever tapping into your real potential? Hell no. You've got to venture into those dark, nasty corners of your mind we usually lock away. Open them up and confront that demon. Get in there and face that son of a bitch. It might take months, hell, it might take years, but figure out what drives you. Figure out your purpose. And once you have it, own it. It's easy as hell to just accept that you're not good enough. To throw in the towel and say, I wasn't cut out for this. Yeah, man, not everyone is going to be the next LeBron James, but let me tell you something, we've got more raw guts and willpower than we give ourselves credit for. We have way more in us than we think. We love that soft-ass comfort zone where someone says, oh man, I'm not feeling it today. And everyone's like, it's okay, brother. Take a day off, let's order a pizza and watch the game. That's easy. That's cozy. But let me tell you, that's why most people can't stand me. I'm a hard ass on myself. If I'm pushing myself to the limit, I couldn't give a damn about how you feel. Most mornings I wake up and think, fuck your feelings. And no, I'm not literally telling you to screw your feelings, man, but sometimes you've got to push past that weak shit. My knees were shot to hell, but I still wanted to run. I knew I could get knee replacements, but that wasn't the point. People are always quick to say, oh man, you ran so much that your body broke down. You don't want to be like David Goggins. I hear it all the time. But here's the thing, man, I dive deep into the darkness. You find no answers in the light. It's too bright, too comfortable. We don't need lessons on how to bask in happiness. It comes naturally. But the dark times, those are where the real work happens. When people ask how I write the way I do, it's because I'm not afraid to go into the depths of my mind. I study the darkness, man. It's not just about physical pain. Growing up, I saw my mom getting beaten. I got my share of beatings, and I was a stuttering kid in predominantly white schools. I'd get up on stage with just one line to say, and I'd choke. Couldn't even get the words out. I used to go home and cry, thinking, how the hell am I going to get through this? But as I grew up, I realized that the only way to break through was to confront it head on. So now whenever life throws me into a dark pit, whether it's physical pain or just the weight of the world, I dive in with pen and paper. I dissect it. I analyze every single part of that suffering. I get in the muck and study it. When things are falling apart around me, I face it. I study the struggle because that's where you find your strength. You can't jam discipline into some neat little box. You can't squeeze structure or consistency into that space. You can't shove the grind in there either, man. And when you try, it's like trying to stuff a boulder into a toy chest. It just gets overwhelmed by the clutter in your mental garage. I hit a point where I looked around and said, this is life. So now I don't get bogged down by the bullshit. I move on fast. People are always freaking out. Oh my God, David, what if you can't run anymore? Guess what? I'll swim, or I'll hit the books, or I'll dive into something else. Running isn't my whole life. I know how quickly life can snatch things away from you, and I'm always ready for the next chapter. Here's where it all changed for me. I started something called front loading. Back in the day, I used to be a whiny little bitch, always crying about how I wasn't good enough, how I couldn't do this or that. The moment I pulled my head out of my ass and realized, damn, you can achieve a shit ton if you just get up, move your ass, and become your own damn motivator, that's when everything shifted. That's when I started front loading. Whenever I'm stuck in a tough spot, I study the hell out of it. That's why I do half the shit I do. I'm studying, analyzing. I never thought I'd be writing books or trying to help people get better. I just knew I needed to change, so I dove into the grind. I knew I was a born loser, and I took mental snapshots of every painful moment. Man, when you see something on your phone and you take a snapshot, I do the same thing in my mind. When I hit those rough patches, I'm like, all right, that's valuable knowledge right there. I captured because I know I can use it later. I'm not out there just for the scenery or the pretty views. I'm in the trenches dealing with pain and suffering, figuring out how to push through it. And that's what gets me through. Stay hard, man.